Hi everyone, Bex Dewey. I'm Bex and I'm part of your NHS Wales e-Library team. Also with me today is Jess, who is our e-Library specialist lead. And today, together, we are welcoming you to our special edition of your e-Library during Health Information Week. Today, we are putting a spotlight on our wellbeing e-resources, which are available to anyone authorized to use the e-Library, in order just to share with you a very quick overview of the vast range of content that you may not have even realized is provided to you by your e-Library. And of course, if after the session you wanted to catch up with our team on anything that you've seen today, or to talk with us about how the e-Library can better support you in your current roles and work, just pop an email to us or use one of our contact forms on the e-Library website. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, no question is too small. Now, before we take a look at some of that content, I really want to talk to you about how access works in the e-Library. Now, personally, I prefer to make sure that I am signed in before I do anything else. So when I'm directly connected to the NHS Wales network, my access is instant. But as you may be able to tell from where I am, I'm working from home. And when I'm not connected to the network, just like I need a key to unlock my door before I can go inside, I'll need to use something to unlock my access to the e-resources. In this case, I'll be using Open Athens in order to access any of the platforms that we subscribe to. In order to take this step, I will go to the Sign In tab on the e-Library website, and I will select the Sign In link, which is right here. And this will take me to our unique screen. Now, I happen to have an NHS Wales email address, and so I will be using the top option when I see this prompt. I'll need to enter my email address and my network password in order for the system to sign me in. However, if I was an authorized user but I had no NHS Wales email address, I would need to self-register for an account for this process. And once I've completed that, I would use the bottom option. However, from tomorrow, our login screen will look a little bit different. When prompted, you will still be using your NHS Wales email address and network password by entering your NHS Wales email address in a screen that will look similar to this, and entering your network password. And these changes should make the sign-in process even easier for NHS Wales staff. And as always, if anything isn't working as expected, please just email e-Library@wales.nhs.uk, and we'll look to see who is best placed to investigate the issue further. Now, I'll be handing the session over to Jess in just a moment, but before we do that, sorry, let me say that one more time. Muddled myself up. I'm going to be handing the session over to Jess in just a moment, and she's going to be showing you where to find the articles and e-journals that you can discover within the e-Library. But before I do, I really just wanted to reassure you that if Google Scholar is your preferred method, that's great. We happen to have how-to videos on the e-Library website that are going to show you how to make Google Scholar and the library catalog that Jess will be showing you talk to each other. And this is really worth doing because it's going to reduce your chances of hitting paywalls on the content that we do subscribe to. So if there are no further questions from the chat, I'm just going to double check the chat. So if there's no further questions at this time, I'm going to stop my part of the sharing and I'm going to hand over to Jess.
Thank you, Beck. Sorry, just catching up with adding some extra links into the chat in case anybody wants them for easy reference. So I'm going to still the sharing screen. So hopefully now you can all see the e-Library website homepage. This is where I'm going to start us off. I've already signed in to my NHS Wales Open Athens account. I've already used the sign-in option that Beck's just alluded to, and now I'm ready to start looking for resources. So if you're looking for a specific resource, say a database or a guideline, then you can use the Resources tab on the e-Library website to locate these, and that's just up here, and you can link through to each of those resources that way. If, however, you are looking to search for information on a particular topic, or want to locate a specific article or ebook, then the best place that we would recommend starting is Library Search. and this can be accessed from the eLibrary homepage. So Library Search, in case you've not heard of it, is our online catalogue, and this allows you to search the collections of not just the NHS Wales eLibrary, but also the NHS Wales Health Libraries and Cardiff University Health Libraries as well. And what you have access to following your searching depends on your home organisation. If you need any support with this, I'll be showing you how to get in touch with your local services a little bit later on. So Library Search allows you to search at article and book chapter level. So that means that you can search for particular book titles, journal titles, but also for specific articles using the titles of those articles. So there's no need to go searching within each of the thousands of journals that you'll have access to individually. You can just search in the one place in Library Search to search across all of those resources. So one way that you can get to Library Search is from this search bar here on the eLibrary homepage. There is also this search bar up here, but that just searches the website. So it's on the homepage, the big kind of widget in the middle of the screen is your search bar into Library Search. You don't have to enter your full search at this stage. It can be refined later on. So to get me into Library Search now, I'm just going to type in the keyword well-being, seeing as that is our topic for today. And I'm going to change the scope of my search to search for all digital and physical NHS Wales. So I'm going to search all the collections for now, and then I can narrow down my search a little bit later on to see what I can access. I'm just going to click search to take me out of there. So this has brought me into Library Search, and although I can search the catalogue without signing in again, I'd always recommend signing in at the start of your search with Library Search. Whether that's you working on an NHS Wales site or if you're from home, it's always best to sign in at the start. So you can use the sign in button at the top here, or the yellow bar will prompt you as well to sign in this way. Now I've already signed into Open Athens, although it was a little while ago, so I'll see if it still remembers me in this browser session, but I shouldn't have to log in again. And the option that you'll select is the NHS Wales email address /Open Athens, and then you'll either use your NHS Wales email address and password or your Open Athens login, depending on which organisation you're coming from. So I've not had to enter my details again. I just needed to prompt Library Search to remind them that I have signed in. I am an NHS Wales eLibrary user, and you can see that my name, my surname's up in the corner there, so I can see that I've signed in. If you ever find, though, that you've followed all of these steps and you come across any error messages, or you can't see your name at the top, but you know you've logged in, the likelihood is it's absolutely not a problem with yourself at all. It's something that we might need to fix for you. So if you find any problems, please just contact your local library service or ourselves at the eLibrary to investigate further. So before I carry on with my search, I'm just going to orientate you to a few extra features on Library Search that you might find useful. So first of all, you'll see at the top is Research Assistant. So this is a new AI feature in the last few weeks. It's still in the beta stage, and there are still some developments being worked on by the supplier. So it's not kind of 100% what we'd like at the moment. But once all of those developments have been completed, we'll be adding guidance on how to use the Research Assistant to Library Search so you can access all that information. I'm not going to be covering it now in this session, but in the meantime, please feel free to use this tool. Just be a little cautious when you do that there are still some developments taking place and before there's any guidance available for you. Next along the top is a link to the NHS Wales Library Knowledge Services homepage if you need any extra support that way or any contacts. This link will just link you back to the eLibrary homepage if you need to come back for any reason. In terms of interlibrary loans, if you're curious about these, I'd have a chat with your local library service to check whether you're able to use this service. And then the help button, which I will click into to just show you quickly. This is where you can find further help and support using Library Search, including who you can contact for support, whether that's help with completing your search, but also things like any error messages you might come across or anything that you're not sure about. There's also some useful help videos in here, so if I just scroll down, there's a useful video on how to do a search in Library Search and also researching your topic. These are really useful kind of short, sharp videos that you can watch to support your searching. And there's also at the bottom how you can switch the display language to Welsh. It will just translate the Library Search text, so the filters, the menu options. It won't translate the actual results of the search. They'll still display in the language that they were written, but if that's your preference, you're welcome to switch the display to Welsh as well. I'll pop back to library search, which should still remember that I'm logged in. So I'm logged in, I'm in library search, and I'm now going to start my search. You can restart your search at any point by just clicking library search at the top, and this will refresh the page. So I'm going to first show you how to search for a specific article or book. So I'm looking for this specific article. This is the title that I've been given. I'm not sure which journal it's in. I don't want to go looking through the thousands of journals, but I know that this is the title that I'm looking for. So if I search for that, it's this one here at the top that I was hoping to get hold of. You'll note that some articles can be downloaded straight from library search as a PDF. This is usually the case for open access content, which this one so happens to be. Otherwise, you'll just see a full text available option, or sometimes it might say online access, but it will always be a green button that you can link through to. So you can just click on that to open up the record. And then the section that you'll be searching for is the view online area. So this will show you all the links of where this content is accessible to you. Sometimes you'll find more than one option in here. That's just because we may have access to content from various locations. For example, we might have access via a full text database or directly from a journal site. And these just display in alphabetical order rather than any kind of relevance order. But if you have any problems with any of the links, please just let us know. You can also see the holdings available as well. So we can see that we have this journal title, which is mindfulness, and it's available to us from 1997. And those holding dates can vary depending on the content. So when you click through to the journal website, in this case, I've already loaded it just because my computer can be a little bit slow. It will take you through to where you can access that content. You shouldn't need to sign in again. It should recognise your that you've already logged in that browser session. But if you do find that it needs to catch up with you, a bit like when I logged into library search, I had to just remind it that I've already logged in. You may need to sign in again, but you shouldn't have to enter your details. You just need to remind it that you've already signed in by clicking on that sign in option. So once you're viewing the article on the published site, you can read it on the web page as it is, or if you'd like a kind of formatted version, you can download the PDF, and then you're free to share that PDF with colleagues within NHS Wales and social care workers and managers as well, if you prefer a more kind of formatted paper, which personally is my preference. I'm just going to pop us back to library search. So just a reminder again, if you do find that you have any problems with any of the links that you find on library search, that it's not connecting you to the content you want, so maybe it's taking you to the wrong place, or maybe it's still showing a paywall, please just get in contact with the e-library so we can investigate further. As I said before, it's more likely that it's something that we need to fix than anything you're doing wrong. It's more often than not, it's something that we need to fix. Okay, so that's how you search for a specific article, but say you're not sure exactly what you're looking for, you're looking more about a topic, or maybe you've got a particular research question you want answered, and you just want to browse certain content on a topic. So I've chosen to search for compassion fatigue here. So I've started off with just a phrase. I've put it into, oh my gosh, the word has fallen out of my head. Because it's a phrase, I put it in quotation marks, and that means that it will search for the phrase compassion fatigue rather than looking for any instance of compassion or any instance of fatigue. It looks at it as a phrase in itself. And that's the same for any other phrases. So mental health, for example, if you want to put that in quotation marks, to search for the phrase mental health rather than the two words separately, which could come up with a lot of results that might not be relevant to what you're looking at. And this search can always be built upon, but this is what I'm just going to start out with. So I've got over 2,500 results, some of which aren't going to be relevant. So I'm wanting to refine this further. And actually what I want to know is how to treat and prevent it. So I'm going to try the term resilient or resilience in my search to see what that comes up with. And I've used an asterisk on the end of resilient because I want to search for terms resilient and resilient as well. So it just brings up all those results. So 497 results is a little bit more manageable. And I can also use the filters to narrow down my search even further. So I could just select full text online. So I only want to see what's online. I don't want to look at any of the physical options that might be available to me. And another useful one to use is the date range. So that's a little bit further down in creation date. So I'm going to just filter to 2020 to 2025 because I only want to look at the last few years. You can change this time frame to whatever works for you, though, depending on what you're trying to find out. And apply both of those filters to my results, and I'll see what that does to the number. So that brings it down a little bit. I'm now 312. That's a bit more manageable for me to look at. But still, that's plenty of information there that I might not have time to look at right now. But there is the option for me to save these results. So I can pin them if I'd like to add them to my favorites. So for example, if I wanted to come back and look at this top one here, I can add it to my favorites. And if I'm logged in, it will save it for me to come back to later. And if I want to remove it, I can remove it here, but I can also remove it from this area up here, which I'll show you in just a moment. So that might be useful if there's just a few that you wanted to look at later. But if I wanted to look at the whole search again, I might prefer to go and save my whole query instead. So if I click this button here, then it will tell me that my query has been saved. It's in the same area where that pin is in the top right next to my name. And I can also choose to turn on the notification for this query. So this will mean that I will get a notification every time there's a new result in this search, and I won't have to keep rerunning that search. I can just get a notification to my email address for that. You can turn off those notifications at any time, so it just depends kind of what you're looking at the time with what ones you keep active. There's also some other useful features that I want to just draw your attention to on library search. So if I click on the action options here, so not only can you add to favourites, you can also export to reference management systems. If you're using EndNote, Zotero, Mendeley, you can export from here. You can also use the citation option as well. All I would say, though, is although that gives you a few options of referencing style, it is worth checking the accuracy of these. So make sure that you are editing the citation as appropriate for the referencing format that you need to use for your work. So if you're submitting an essay for your university course, make sure that the format you follow is the university's referencing style guide. I wouldn't rely on the accuracy of these here. There are so many referencing styles out there, but this can be a good start with some of the information that you need for that. There's also the permalink option. So this will save a stable URL link to this particular search result, and you can share that with your colleagues, and it will bring them into library search to this search result. So that can be a useful way to kind of prompt them to log in to access the article and avoid them being met with a paywall if they do want to go back and have a look at it. And you can also email to yourself as well. Is that one there? So I'll just show you the favourites area so you can see where all of these are being put. So the saved records area is where the individual pins of the search results are that I saved. Saved searches is where you can see where you've actually saved. I saved it twice just now because I wanted the notification query to come up for me again. But yeah, so you can keep saving search results. You might want to do it as you go to kind of build your search and see how it changes. Equally, you might just want to save it at the end. And you can turn off notifications at any time by clicking the unset alert button as well. And you can also remove the whole search if you're finished with it and you don't need to save it anymore. So I think that's all I wanted to show you from library search. I just wanted to check whether there were any questions at this stage. But ultimately, my kind of take home for library search is remember the help area, and if you have any queries, you can always come back and ask. I don't think there's any questions in the chat, not a problem. So I'll just move this on then to let's head back to the e-library website to show you the evidence summaries that you have access to. So these two are BMJ Best Practice and Clinical Key, and you can reach them from library search if you'd like, but also you can get to them from the e-library website. So under resources and evidence summaries, but BMJ best practice and clinical key are the ones that I'm going to focus on. So evidence summaries are research and reference resources that health and social care professionals can utilise at the point of care with a patient. They are very easy to use, contain filtered and fully referenced information, and you can think of them as reliable PDFs where you can kind of get summarised information that are fully referenced. And both of these as well are available as apps, so you can access much of the content from your mobile device as well if that suits you better. So I'm going to go alphabetical and show you BMJ practice first. So I would just click on this link, but I have already opened it up and signed in just for ease. So we do recommend that you register for a personal account, as this allows features like tracking CME and CPD credits. You can see mine at the top, which is just what I've achieved from prepping for this session today. So it's a good way to help demonstrate your learning and the time that you've spent kind of reading up on content. You can browse the content on BMJ best practice by specialty. So by clicking on specialty here, you wanted to just have a browse of the different specialties. So if I click on, let's go to the top ones to show you. And I'll highlight at this point the Comorbidities Manager tool as well. So this is the icon here, and you can see that it shows in this area on the right. And this prompts you to consider patients' comorbidities when accessing this treatment information to support managing the whole patient, so really helping to increase that quality of care. So if you were treating a patient with this particular condition who, say, also had diabetes and tobacco dependence, you can select these comorbidities and these will be considered for the treatment algorithm that it provides for you. And the recommendations for treatment adjustments are highlighted with the comorbidities icon. So if I scroll down, you can see that with this one here, it's clearly highlighted with that icon. And these recommendations as well are also fully referenced. So if you did want to check up on anything, all that information is there for you. I head back to the home page. So let's say that I didn't want to have a browse and I knew exactly what I wanted to search for. Then you can use the search bar. So I'm going to search for smoking cessation, and it does come up with options as you're typing. So there's the summary overview that you can see. There's no comorbidities options for this one. It's not going to be on all of them. It's not going to be relevant for all of them. You can also see where it was last reviewed, last updated. So this can help give you an idea on how much information may have changed since you last looked at the summary. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see the authors and peer reviewers as well. And these summaries are fully referenced. There's links to the references if you'd like to explore further. And there's also, just want to draw your attention to the guidelines as well to see the related guidelines. And on BMJ Best Practice, this lists the guidelines that were involved in creating the resource. It starts with those in the UK, and then there's also other international guidelines that it includes as well if you wanted to go and have a look at those. The last thing that I wanted to just show you on here is the patient information as well. So if the summary perhaps has a little bit too much jargon in it still, you'd like to access information in a different way, you can look at the patient information section. And these can be shared with patients, also with colleagues, and they'll summarise all the information in a really clear way in plain language. And some of these leaflets are available in multiple languages as well, which can be useful for that clear communication with patients. And you can also get to the patient information for all of the content at the top as well, if you'd like to just go straight to that. Another feature that I just want to demonstrate is the calculators. So in BMJ Best Practice, these are also fully referenced as well and searchable, but also browsable. I'm just going to show you a couple quickly. So I'm going to just show you the Glasgow Coma Scale. So you've got the calculator at the top, but also if you scroll down, you can see the references. So that can be looked up as well if you'd like to read on a bit further about how that calculator came about. And one last thing is the multimedia. So there's podcasts, but there's also procedure videos as well that you might find useful. So we were looking at the smoking cessation evidence summary just a second ago, and there are some procedure videos associated with these as well on motivational interviewing. So these videos in this area, you might want to be showing the patient if it's appropriate to support their care. Others are more for teaching, but there's a lot of content here in very kind of simple videos that can really support learning and understanding. So that's just a really quick overview of BMJ best practice. I'm just going to move us on to Clinical Key, which can be accessed from the same evidence summary page on the eLibrary homepage. So this is another evidence summary tool that you have access to. You can find information in a very similar way to BMJ best practice. There are summaries which can be found under the clinical overviews area. There's also calculators and patient education information, and also procedure videos as well. So it's just a slightly different layout, and the content is often slightly more American focused and British focused, but there's a lot of similar information here that can be found just in a slightly different layout. With this one as well, with Clinical Key, we recommend you creating a personal account, and this account can be used across all of the Elsco products that we subscribe to and you have access to. So that includes Science Direct, which has some of our journals, and also the Scopus citation database. And it just means that you can use features like setting up content alerts and saving content and things like that. So I'm going to search for the same topic just to show you how it looks a little bit different in Clinical Key. I've already loaded it, so I'm going to go to that one instead because my computer's being a little slow. So this is what the clinical overview looks like for smoking cessation in Clinical Key. So you can open up the outline to see all the kind of content that's included in the overview, and it's fully referenced as well, like it was in BMJ best practice. You can scroll down to the references and check any of those out as well if you wanted to explore any of them further. And where there are any guidelines that are referenced in Clinical Key, this is clearly stated in the references, but it is worth being aware whether you're looking at UK guidelines or other international guidelines. So, for example, there is a guideline referenced in this one, reference number 5, and this guideline is from the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, which is an American agency, so that will be an American guideline there, so that's just something to be aware of. And then one last thing to show you on Clinical Key before I hand back to Bex is just to make you aware that we also have various e-journals available on here, including the Lancet journals, and also ebooks as well, including a number of textbooks and handbooks. But I would still say that a good place to start with accessing any of the ebooks, journals, articles is still from Library Search, especially if you're not sure which resource across our collection provides the access. It means you don't have to go through each of the resources to find what you're looking for. You can just use Library Search Catalogue to search across everything and find the access that you need. But again, if there are any queries or any support is needed, please just get in touch with us at the eLibrary or your local library service, and we'd be happy to help. And that's all from me. If there are any questions?
Thanks so much, Jess. So for those of you who are live in the session, you can see from the chat that I've linked to where you can find our evidence summaries, so both BMJ Best Practice and Clinical Key, and there's also supporting information. So if you wanted to find out anything more about what Jess was showing you, whether it's on BMJ Best Practice or from Clinical Key, you can head straight there. So if there's no further questions about library search and accessing e-journals, whether it's on Clinical Key or from other e-journal platforms, or any questions about the evidence summaries, I'm going to head into some of the other areas from the eLibrary website. So heading back over to the eLibrary website, and can I just have a quick thumbs up that I have shared correctly again? Excellent, thank you. So just to highlight, so Jess was showing you from the homepage of the eLibrary website, we've talked about signing in, and next to the sign-in page, we've talked about evidence summaries, and we've touched on e-journals and ebooks. Before I head off to our guidelines, I do want to highlight to you our databases page. So here you can find all of the databases that we either subscribe to, but you can also find some freely available ones that we would recommend to be in your knowledge list of resources as well. So to find which database might be relevant for your particular search, essentially you would use the plus or the minus symbol in order to find that. So say, for example, the British Nursing Database, I can feel pretty confident that the subject coverage is going to match what's in the name, but there are other types that might be less obvious. So for example, if you're less familiar with the contents within CINAHL, you might need to have a read through of what the description is. We're currently in the process of improving how our databases page is currently displayed. So it might be that the next time that you come to visit our database page, it might look a little bit different. And the aim is for it to be a little bit more clear on what types of databases that you're linking to and what the topic and subject coverage is. So if you have any questions in using any of our databases, we would always recommend that you talk to your local library service or information professionals, as they're going to be the experts in searching through these databases. However, in our support page or support section, we have supporting information about literature searching, as well as reading search strategies. So I'm just going to very quickly hop into there. So I'm not a librarian by background, and so this type of information is really, really helpful for me, especially when I first started within the e-library. We have an entire series, mini-series, for exploring evidence. So if the idea of Boolean operators sounds more like a stock cube to you, like it did for me, then this is some great jargon busting on when to use and or, what's meant by controlled vocabulary. And the videos are created by the NHS Wales Library Training Group. They also regularly run various different training sessions on our databases, and that series is called Finding Information. We actually have some more live sessions coming up through Health Information Week and going through the year to demonstrate databases such as Medline, CINAHL, and many others. So you can have a look at some of our older sessions, our previous sessions from there. And then just some further information for you to have a look through. So I highly recommend you visit this section. So moving away from databases, I'm now going to head over to guidelines. Now, we subscribe to numerous guidelines, which you can find here. In addition to the BNF and the BNFC, which as an app you can access. You can access the BNF and the BNFC on NICE, but we now have a national subscription to Medicines Complete, and you're able to access the BNF through that platform, and it has, I understand, slightly more functionality than it would if you were using it through NICE. As I'm not a pharmacist or a prescriber, I'm afraid I'm not sure what it looks like on NICE, but using my Open Athens account, I can enjoy how that looks on Medicines Complete. But what I do want to highlight to you on our Day of Celebration for Wellbeing is one of the guidelines that I think is often misunderstood. And this is the Royal Marsden Manual of Clinical Nursing Procedures. And the reason why I like to highlight this to absolutely everybody is because nursing is in the title. So much like databases, sometimes the title is exactly what's on the tin, but this is one of those wonderful examples where, although it says it's for nursing, I actually think the content in here is so suitable for everybody. So by clicking into here and accessing the Royal Marsden and using an Open Athens account, having already signed in, it will take me to the Royal Marsden Manual. Now, I have already prepared part of the search, this display screen here that you're seeing on my favorite chapter, which is chapter 19. So the Royal Marsden Manual used to be a physical book, and you can get it as an ebook, but we have it as a platform. We subscribe to it as a platform. And this means that the functionality of it is just even more than it would have been if it was like a physical book or even just as a more traditional ebook. So on this particular platform, you are able to search for specific things. It has images, it has, there's even videos in here. there's a lot more functionality features that we have access to nationally. So the search which I have prepared is on compassion, which hopefully you can see from my screen. And you can see that chapter 5 has been illuminated. Chapter 5 is also one of my other favorite chapters. It's on communication, as well as psychological well-being and safeguarding. So that's chapter 5. And chapter 19 is self-care and well-being. So the reason why I like to search for compassion is because I don't think enough people talk about compassion fatigue, and how it's not just nurses that can be at risk or experience compassion fatigue. And I like how in here it talks about the definition and ways to spot that. But if you weren't specifically looking for compassion, you just wanted to have a look at the chapters, here you can look for all of the chapters, either a number. So if you're a bit of a geek like me and know it's chapter 19 is self-care and well-being, then you would know. But if not, then you can browse by all of the chapter titles. So chapter 19 here, it's its own part. And then, if you do need to have more knowledge about some of the other nursing aspects of it, then of course, view those chapters as well. As you scroll down, you can see some further information. So in the chat a little bit earlier, I mentioned that Clinical Key has a PowerPoint presentation maker, which is a feature that you get to access by creating that personal account. There are PowerPoints available in the Royal Marsden as well, but there's also videos here too. My favorite video, I mean, here there's a gastric intubation video, but my personal favorite one is a mindfulness hand washing video, and I like telling everybody about this video. So excuse me, this video came out during the pandemic, and I thought it was so beautifully done because it allows you through guided meditation to demonstrate what a good practice for hand washing is, while at the same time grounding yourself. So the video itself guides you through the good practice of hand washing, but it tells you to ground yourself, be in the moment as you're enjoying the lather of the soap and the warm water. And it's a wonderful video. So if you're having perhaps a day of it, you just need a moment, here is a good, trustworthy, reliable resource to help you through that guided meditation, and you're practicing good hand hygiene as well. So I very much recommend absolutely anybody having a think about using this video and sharing it with others through the Royal Marsden Manual. So I hope this helps to dispel the myth that the Royal Marsden Manual for clinical and nursing cancer nursing procedures is just for nurses. It's for everyone. So enjoy, you have access to it. Moving away from guidelines, I now want to highlight our newer section of the medicines information page. So this page was launched in September of 2024, so last year. And here we've pulled through all of our e-resources, which are there to support medicines information. So here you can find Medicines Complete, which I mentioned a little bit earlier when I highlighted the BNF and the BNFC. There's also, there's 23 modules available in Medicines Complete that you can have a look through. So a lot of people ask about the palliative care formulary, so you would access that through Medicines Complete. There is the psychotropic drug directory and a lot more. We're regularly running sessions on this platform because it's one of our newer platforms. So please come along, but also please help share and spread the word of the national access to this. We have interactive posters about all of our medicines information resources. We're also pleased to provide access to Maudsley, which is for psychotropic medicine, that's a mouthful, access to Newt, and many more. You'll also see here links to BMJ Best Practice and Clinical Key, much like Justice showed you. And recently they've come out with a, BMJ Best Practice came out with a new topic, the frailty topic. That was such a wonderful webinar that they put on and allowed us to share the content from that. So you can watch the webinar yourself as well and access the slides. And this was very a multidisciplinary team approach in talking about frailty in the community. So great for primary care, great for community, great for social care. So you can have an access of that as well. Moving along from medicines information, I'm going to jump over to our e-learning page. So one of the wonderful types of resources that we subscribe to and have a page for is e-learning. Now, with your Open Athens account, you can access e-learning for health, and you can create personal profiles for that, which can help with any revalidation or CPD that might be required of you for your particular profession. But we also have a subscription to BMJ Learning. And in both of these platforms, you're able to get certificate for what you successfully completed. Now, today's topic is on well-being, so I really wanted to show you the collection of well-being courses which you can find in BMJ Learning. The very cool thing about BMJ Learning is that when you have courses like this, much like the permalinks that just showed you in library search, that's the hyperlink I just put in the chat there, so you can have a look at these as well. So you can see that there's workload and time management. Dealing with pressure at medical school perhaps might not be relevant for everyone, but emotional intelligence, understanding resilience in the workplace, preventing bullying and harassment, how to achieve a healthy work-life balance. These are all interdisciplinary types of topics, and I have yet to find anybody that wouldn't value from those. After you have successfully completed the course, you get a certificate with your name on it, as well as the name of the course, and it allows you to download it as a PDF. And then it's your choice to upload it onto an NHS Wales, ESR, or however you do your PADRs. And then if you happen to be in organizations outside of NHS, again, it can help with your professional profiles with any of that and with your name on it. So it's really handy to do. That's sort of what I wanted to show you with BMJ Learning. You can search for any topic in here, so there's loads of clinical topics, but I wanted to highlight that there's loads of non-clinical topics as well. So moving away from e-learning, I wanted to highlight how you can get further involved with the e-library. And in our Have Your Say page, you can make recommendations, whether that is for e-journals, e-books, other types of resources that you want to see. Maybe there's a webinar session that you'd like to recommend that we give. You can also become an e-library champion. So we are always looking for people to champion that evidence-based culture in your profession, and all are welcome to participate and get further involved in there as well. And then we always want your feedback. So please, get involved. We regularly run qualitative surveys. How are the e-resources making an impact in your work? And helping us to get that feedback helps us make sure that we continue to give you good quality resources, knowing that they are making an impact. Or if they're not, then we can look to pivot and change how we're doing what we're doing. I've mentioned before about the news, so you please do have a look in our news area. We're going to be running some more sessions throughout the coming year, and this is a great way to find out what's on the horizon here. You can also have a look in the e-library calendar. So the session that we're currently in right now is displaying on my screen. We have another session tomorrow. So if anybody did want to come to that literature searching webinar, there's an opportunity to register for that, where you can click into here and then go through those registration steps there and get an invitation. We can also send you emails of regular activities if that's something you wanted to get involved with a bit further. We know that sometimes things don't necessarily work quite as expected. And so if that happens to be the instance, for you at that one moment, please don't suffer in silence. Please never just assume that the error is you. As Jess demonstrated earlier, there's lots of reasons why a link might not necessarily be working as expected. It might have shifted and changed. It's the nature of the digital dynamics. If that happens, just let us know. You can get in touch with us using the contact us form or by emailing elibrary@wales.nhs.uk, and we're really happy to come and have a look at whatever the situation is and find the best way to resolve that for you. So I think that pretty much brings us to the end of the session. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. But if not, diolch yn fawr iawn.